Adam Blue here with the BlueGamer Bluecast. November 17th. Also, I don't know what episode. I'm going to assume I'm in the 80s, maybe 70s. At the beginning, you might have saw, like it said, BlueGamer TV 2014. I love that intro. Someone made it for me back in 2014 or 13. And it is an After Effects file. I have no way to go and change the year, but it still looks cool, so I'm using it. I bet some AI programs could fix that, right? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, welcome everyone. This week in gaming, there hasn't been too much crazy news. I think it's just because of holidays around the corner, Thanksgiving and all that, so there's not too much really anyone's talking about. So, to get started, let's talk about what I've been playing. So, I've been playing Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, just doing the multiplayer. I tend to do a few rounds at least once a day just to, get the XP, have fun leveling up some guns. I love the maps. I gotta say, there's maybe a couple that are just boring, but these maps are great. They're a lot of fun. I'm having fun with the game. It's just a basic game, but I'm having fun with it. And I know I keep saying this, and I feel like I'm justifying it, but it really is where, like, I guess this is what it stems from. I'm into video games, so if I happen to be somewhere in public or somewhere, and then someone brings up they love video games, and I ask what they play, and they might just say Call of Duty or NBA 2K, and then that's it. That's it. And it's just disappointing because I'm like, okay, well, I can't really engage with this person like I originally thought because they said they love playing games too. It's because it's really more of that through their day, they have the hobby of playing Call of Duty or NBA 2K or something. So that's really all that's about. I try not to be elitist about it or anything, but yeah, I don't know why I have to keep. Okay, the reason I'm doing the caveat is because when we were seeing, when it's the mainstream journalists, that I guess mainstream adjacent, not like the super mainstream outlets like IGN, but anything mainstream adjacent or influencers, they like to that are big into gaming, they like to attack Fortnite and Call of Duty. And you know what? I get it, but at the same time, it just reminds me of when I was a kid. Before gaming was as big as it was, and just talking about liking video games at school, people are like, well, that's nerdy. You play video games? You're a gamer? And then nowadays, like, it's such a natural, basic thing that people do. So I think there's a little bit of, kind of what I went through being young, liking video games, and now I hear people attacking people, or framing Call of Duty and Fortnite as like being a real gamer, but that doesn't exist. Anyway, I guess that was my opening monologue / rant. Because monologue is fun. What else have I been playing? Finally got into Remnant 2, and I tried Remnant 1 a few times. I thought it was okay. And then recently this year I played it a lot more, and I'm like, okay, I get the loop, and it's actually pretty good. The main thing, and I made a video about this, it's not a Souls-like. People keep comparing it to being a Souls-like with guns. That's not what it is. It's just Division and Destiny. So anyway, I was like, okay, then I do like what this is, because I was trying to frame it like a Souls-like before, and I'm like, this isn't a Souls-like, but framing it as a looter shooter, it's pretty fun. The second one does a great job of just polishing those edges, because the first game kind of, it kind of comes off as like that mid-tier, lower budget style European shooter. I'm using a lot of adjectives to describe it, but the second one, totally polished. Love the designs. I think they decided to go back, okay, let's redo, and a lot of it actually does look like Destiny. I think Destiny has some good art direction. Remnant 2 kind of picks up on that, more of that kind of like cosmic horror sort of look. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but Remnant 2 is cool. I'm gonna play it some more. I think that's more of just a podcast game where I would listen to a podcast and play it. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, I've been playing some more RoboCop Rogue City, and I'm liking it. And it's funny because it's one of those things where I know I wouldn't like it if it wasn't RoboCop. And also being RoboCop, something I brought up in another live stream I did was, you could play the game on PC with mouse and keyboard, and it has the one-to-one mouse movement. But if you use a controller, it's very slow turning. The controller feels more like being immersed into the RoboCop experience. The dialogue trees, the stuff I don't normally care for, I generally skip that, and I've noticed it hasn't really done anything. But from what I understand is there's little things that can be done. Like there are some choices that you can make, some options that might change things a little bit. I haven't encountered it to be a big deal, just some basic minor things. But but I do like how the game plays, because it's like I'm in this open area in like the downtown area, and I'm going like doing some objectives, and then when I go to this next main mission, it says, hey, here's a number of missions you could still do. If you leave, you're going to forfeit. Do you wish to do that? And I was like, oh no. So I can stay and really know I'm getting everything done. And it's small enough to where I feel there's more of an intimacy with the player and the environment, because I'm not like traveling across vast nothing. It's like everything is something specific within this little open section. And it even allows you to enter what were linear missions within the open area, but there might not be anything to do there. Sometimes there is, because you can get things and go back. So while it's telling me that I could forfeit the missions if I leave, I'm assuming you can go back, because there's some things that require your level of your abilities to do. So curious to see where that goes. A lot of fun. Next up, Castlevania Advanced Collection. Just after, I thought I brought this up last. I forget when I did it, but I beat Bloodstain, loved it, and it gave me that Castlevania itch again. So I've been dabbling into Rondo of Blood, Dracula X, Advanced Collection, and just looking at the non-Metroidvania Castlevanias, those can be beaten pretty quickly, looking back. And when I was playing Rondo of Blood on PS5, there's a 2-pack, Symphony of Night, Rondo of Blood. But then I went to just try one of each: Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, Aria of Sorrow. Aria of Sorrow, like, man, going back to that after so long, like, that game was ahead of its time, and it still is, because there's been a lot of interesting Metroidvanias that have come out recently. There's another one that I have played. It's called 9 Years of Shadows. 9 Years of Shadows is pretty cool, because it plays like a Metroidvania, but I think it's made to be kind of a smaller, more compact experience, which is completely fine. I think I saw someone, a stream or someone, it was 5 hours long, but it was beating the game. I kind of like that. It's not a full price game, and I think I could beat it pretty quick, because sometimes I don't need to drag out my time. And what I like about it is, as you go through this game, it has a very unique art style and very unique music, but it's like top tier. Like, if this was a Konami Castlevania, production value alone, you would be amazed. Right? And then as you're playing it, what's interesting is when you have your melee attack, and then you can shoot. You have a little stuffed bear that flies around, and it shoots. When it shoots, your health goes down. To gain health, it's attacking enemies and stuff, which is pretty neat. But also, if your health goes down all the way, you have like 2, I guess you can call them lives in a way. It's just, you have these 2 pips that once your health, or I should say it's shield, that's how they word it. Once the shield's down, you have these 2 pips, so it's like 2 hits that you can't, get hit. But you can hold down the right trigger next to your bear, and it fills up your shield again. Not all the way, but most of the way. Because then the idea is, okay, try to start doing attacks to where you get your health back. So that's cool, because it adds a consistent layer that differentiates it from a typical Metroidvania, and I like that, because sometimes, and this happens a lot, Castlevanias, Metroidvanias can get samey for me, and I went a long time not playing them the past few years, and I think it was because new ones would come out and be like, oh cool, a Metroidvania, and I'd play it, and I'm like, this is not doing it for me. It because a lot of them tend to arbitrarily have it where it's open exploration, get an item here so you can go back and do that. It needs to be entwined into the gameplay a lot more, and I know a lot of people love Hollow Knight, but that fell short. Axiom Verge, almost there, kind of fell short. I liked it, but and that's the thing. There's this last either Last or Lost Faith just announced, and just came out, I think, on Steam and Switch, where that looks like a great Castlevania. But I'm also seeing that a lot of the enemy placement and stuff isn't tweaked well to where sometimes you'll be put into situations that would be considered unfair, and then you would just have to try again, which is fine. And games do that a lot. But for now, I'm just looking for like a very how do I word it? Like a very well-crafted experience. Nothing against the other developers, but anyway, I think 9 Years of Shadows is worth playing. So if anyone is looking for a Metroidvania or just a side scroller, let's see. It's let me go to the store page real quick and see how I totally forgot how much I paid for it. $19.99. That's and then there's some bundle that's $17.99 and it comes with Vengeance of Mr. Peppermint? No, that's something I didn't... That actually looks pretty cool. That came out just a couple weeks ago. What is this? Let me share my screen real quick. Check this out. This looks pretty neat. Haven't heard of it. Let's see. Developer is Hack the Publisher. Nothing that I recognize from that. Let me look at Freedom Games. Airship. The Golden Eye Ghost. Sounds awesome. Oops. All right, I'm gonna have to come back to this. Let me just add it to my wish list. That looked pretty cool actually. But anyway, I think I was just saying 9 Years of Shadows, worth it. Okay. What else have I played? Dead Cells. I've been playing the Castlevania DLC for Dead Cells. Here's my problem with Dead Cells. Like, honestly, I think it's near perfect. Except there are some times where after a long run and I die and then I have to get far enough again to do the next thing, I'm like, I've had my fill of the combat for this evening. I'm done. Like, knowing, like, that a big 75% of the next hour of playing is just going to be me going through the same stuff before I can try the next thing, kind of turns me off from it. I've gotten really far in the game. I've played it a whole lot. The Castlevania DLC is one of those where you can only go to the Castlevania DLC once per run, but then you have to have some stuff already unlocked from the base game in order to get to some places within Castlevania. And again, it's fun and the music is incredible, but like it's weird when it comes to roguelikes, even though that is kind of the purpose of it, to die and then do the stuff again with kind of a little more experience. Sometimes the loop will end my session of gaming early because I know that the next whatever time period I'm playing in is going to be me doing the same thing for a while, hoping that then I can pass that. And then if I don't, I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Nah. And I guess the reason that's a big deal to me is because I like to play a bunch of different games. And so sometimes it's like, well, if I'm not going to make any progress or if I don't feel like making progress, I'll just go to some game that I can make progress in. Otherwise, Dead Cells is amazing. Dead Cells is amazing. Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else I played. A little bit more of Mario Wonder with my wife. I love those special stages. They're like super hard. Here's something. So playing Super Mario Wonder, after a while, I'm like, okay, it's not so hard. Like, it is, but it isn't. It's almost like you'll go through the level and be like, oh, so I have to do this. You have to memorize. Okay, I have to do this, then this is going to happen, then I have to do this. And then once you've done enough to where you memorize it, then it's easy to get through. And, they famously took out the timer because they know people don't want timers. But then there's levels that are purposely harder by making it where it auto scrolls. And on one hand, I don't mind a challenge like that. That's fun, but it seems like that's what they had to resort to in order to make something in Mario actually hard. You know what I mean? Instead of relying on memorization on each level to go back and get all the special items or the hidden exit, what they had to do is throw in this sort of auto-scrolling to then get, because since it's auto-scrolling, things will come out of the screen, and then it's like, okay, I got to do this, I got to memorize that, I got to do that. And one of the hardest special stages, it doesn't auto-scroll from the bottom up. And I feel like that's more of, okay, let's memorize everything so that we can beat this level. And that's all. I don't feel like I'm having to interact with the environment dynamically at will to figure out how to pass things, you know. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, that's all I gotta say for that. Okay, and then let me think if there's anything else real quick, because, you know, sometimes I'm sitting on the couch in the living room playing, and that's where I was playing my PS5 because I put it back in the living room because I'm gonna get the Spider-Man 2 for Thanksgiving week and play a bunch of that, and it's just fun to play that on the big screen. I did that with the original and Miles. But let's see, I think that's about it for what I've been playing. I don't think there's one game I've played the most. I think I'd sprinkle like one day an hour of this game, the next day an hour of another game, and next day. That's kind of how I've been doing it. And I mainly play mostly on weekends. So like last weekend, it was pretty much RoboCop and Call of Duty. So anyway, so that is it for what I've been playing. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I showed this off last week. Because I know I've been getting a lot of controllers lately, and this is the Microsoft Core controller. How do I not remember if I showed this last week? Because my wife got it. She was out of town for a Microsoft event, was in Seattle at the Microsoft headquarters, was able to get this at a discount, because I've been wanting to get this. I think this is nearly the best controller, even though these third-party ones are amazing. Here is what I would change. One thing is on the triggers, it's a very narrow edge for, and it's a very extreme angle, and not necessarily an angle, but the curve to where it's almost like pressing into the ridges of the corner of my fingers as I'm pressing in, and almost like wears at my finger over time. I know that's kind of weird because then the controller that I prefer, actually, let me show this one. It doesn't do that. These are very smooth and kind of curved triggers where there's none of that. It's really awesome. Yeah, it's almost like this requires more of a claw to get around, so then you're kind of rubbing right in between the folds of the finger. This does not have that. I can just rest my fingers on here and just click. So, this controller, triggers are better, and I like the plastic feel. It's not as good as the rubber grip, but it's not as cheap as like plastic from some, cheaper plastic controllers. And I like I don't know if you can hear that on here, but the mechanical nature of everything. This doesn't do anything mechanically, even though it does have trigger stops. It doesn't do anything mechanically, but that doesn't stop it from feeling good. So the ultimate controller for me would be the triggers from the Vader Pro 3 inside the, that would do it, and I would be fine with not having mechanical buttons, face buttons. So anyway, just a little thing there. I think that's probably going to be it for controller purchases for me for a while. Because I feel like, what do I spend the most time doing? Yeah, maybe playing video games. But let's break that down. When you're playing video games, what are you doing the most when playing video games? Oh, I'm using a controller. So my thought was, let's invest in research to find what would enhance my experience. And it could be that comfortability, which this does it. This is the most comfortable controller I've ever held. Even though these other ones are pretty awesome too. Yeah, that's why I've been on that journey, and I think I'm done for now. The only thing I might do in the future is maybe modify them myself, like, it would be pricey to do, but to have mechanical buttons in this, change out the trigger, the feel of this, it's the weight and the rubber grip that make this hard to pass up. And then my favorite controller of all time, actually, is, although, it's this special edition Xbox. It's got the green rubber grips on the back. I love this one. I've used it so much that I've just decided I'm going to stop using it and use these new ones. And that's it for that. So let's look at the news. Well, like I said, there wasn't a lot of crazy stuff, but there still could be a lot of stuff. And it could kind of bring up some interesting stuff to talk about. So, Dragon's Dogma 2 gets rating in Saudi Arabia. The biggest thing out of that is it seems like Dragon's Dogma 2 could be coming out in March. I can't wait. I'm going to be all over this. I loved the first one. And I'm not a fantasy medieval guy or RPG guy, but it just had awesome combat in an open world area, and I love melee combat. So this second one has got to be good, especially with Capcom just knocking it out of the park. As much as I didn't care about the Resident Evil 4 remake, it was amazing. Everything about it was amazing. It's just that it's amazing in the sense where here's how to make a video game a video game. This is very video game. All right, Zelda movie. That might have been announced last week and I didn't bring it up, but Zelda live action movie. I don't know what to say except that they should, I think they should cast nobodies. Really? Okay, Amazon Games lays off 180 employees. I wanted to bring this up just because I will listen to podcasts where people are like, what's going on in the games industry? And it's like, it's not a games industry thing. All companies, all industries, mass layoffs. It's a recovery of the reaction to COVID. COVID happened, companies reacted. Now we're at the other end of that, and now there's this kind of recovery where all this debt was taken out because specific verticals were more profitable. And debt usually requires interest to be paid, and now that interest is so high, whereas some people are moving away from certain projects, things that have to do with remote work. So anyway, lots of things that have to do with that. Okay, Last Faith. That's what I was talking about. Castlevania meets Bloodborne. Last Faith. Check that out. That it didn't grab me as quickly as 9 Years of Shadow. Was that what that was called? But it still looks great. Okay, Sledgehammer Games responds to reports about COD Modern Warfare 3 development turnaround. And I don't think they have to respond, but I think the majority of the people online tend to like to be angry about something, because if you were to look at any time, take a sampling of posts from Twitter, let's just say you wanted to take a sampling of 100,000 posts that were on Twitter on one day, I would assume 75% and higher would be people complaining or being negative about something. That's just the way it works. I don't mind what Call of Duty did, because here's the thing. Sure, we're paying $70 for a game. Since it's already a live service game, I don't mind paying for it if that's the only way you can get some of the content, but then I know it's going to continue. You know what I mean? It's like I'm investing $70 into something that I know I'm going to get fun out of for a long time. And I appreciate that, because with Modern Warfare 2, buying the Ash skin, getting the Doom shotgun, which almost changes the game in a way where I can play it that best suits me, I'm carrying that over into Modern Warfare 3. And I do think that maybe because of what happened, they decided to take that little chance on the campaign and change it up a bit. And while I don't think it really landed, I can see what they're trying to do and the potential there. And so I hope that means the future Call of Duties will just be exclusively the open missions. And you can still have those linear set pieces. You can make it where the opening of that free mission is the linear set piece, which they sort of kind of did on some of them, but can make it a little more. The on-rails set piece stuff, I've kind of got over that stuff. It's not as fun for me in gaming anymore, because you're just watching something, essentially. and you know you're going to get past it because you're just shooting the guy in front of you. That's why I like the sniper games so much, because I'm not a sniper person, but those sniper games are so fun because you can use the mechanics at will to do whatever. It's like Breath of the Wild. And that's kind of what they're doing with the new Modern Warfare 3, making it like Breath of the Wild. Still got a long way to go. Nominees for Game Awards, and I made a post about this on Twitter, on the BlueGamer Twitter. So Game of the Year, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. A lot of people are saying this is an amazing year, and it could just be because Zelda, those are typically amazing games that came out. And Resident Evil 4, it's like Resident Evil 4 is an amazing modern game, even though there are so many reasons why I prefer the original one. Because when I'm playing Resident Evil 4, I feel like I'm just playing a third-person video game shooter. Whereas the original Resident Evil 4 that came out, there were restrictions and things that weren't modernized that you had to work around, and even the lighting, like I loved all that. And so, anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is they're cool games. Spider-Man 2, cool game. These are all sequels. Everything here is a sequel. And Alan Wake 2 just came out. I'm surprised people are already giving that Game of the Year. Now, I haven't played it. Truthfully, I haven't played it. I played the first one. I thought it was good. It just kind of lacked mechanical nature to the gameplay. Like, I wanted there to be more to the gameplay. It was more story-based. And what I hear about Alan Wake 2 is that they've scaled back the gameplay even more with it. And I know it has cool stuff in here. I don't want to spoil it. But, like, I'm going to be honest, this is kind of a boring Game of the Year list. Hey, Talos Mobius, good to see you. Because all of these are sequels, none of these games are doing anything new. If we look at it, Alan Wake 2 is more of just a narrative-driven experience. Baldur's Gate 3 is a turn-based RPG. You know, it has the production. All of these games actually have amazing production value. Is that what it takes? Because Marvel Spider-Man 2, amazing production value, probably an awesome story. Resident Evil 4, they changed the game to be a modern, high production value game. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, it's the latest Mario from Nintendo. It's going to be good. Tears of the Kingdom, it's going to be, I mean, it's Breath of the Wild with more to do with crafting, with Fortnite and Roblox crafting. It's, you know, but like for me, even though, okay, I haven't decided what my Game of the Year is for 2023, but Double Dragon Gaiden could be at the top. Now, that is a sequel, right? I think it is only in name. Like, because when you play it, the developers came up with a brand new sort of beat-em-up mechanic to play the game in. And it has very roguelite elements to it. So it's a different thing. And it is fun. It is tight. And I love it. And, you know, and the other thing, too, is if I was going to clout some other Game of the Year games, like it would be, just me personally, it would be like I played an F-ton of Gundam Battle Operation 2 on PC. Since June, I have 79 hours, which I think is pretty good. In terms of that, is kind of a lot, I think, for me for a PvP game. Because it just came out on PC this year, even though that came out on PS4 back in, like, what, 2018 or something? So, you know, or 2019, I forget. But so that's the thing. It's like, does that count? I would say yes, because it came out on PC this year, and I played 79 hours of it. It's an amazing game. It is the tightest PvP game that exists. I don't think there's any question to it. Yeah, there's nothing tighter than this, and it has all the suits, and each suit is different. It's crazy. Talos is saying, I actually like Baldur's Gate as it did really well at what it was meant to be. It's a great D&D game. Yeah. And that's why I've never really played them, because I know kind of what they are, and it's not my thing. Although I used to play, like, I think Neverwinter Nights. There's a few that, if there's more like skill-based stuff to it. I have a lot of fun. And by skill, I mean like real-time sort of combat stuff. Okay. Let me actually go back to that. Okay. So it's talking about that. The other game that I played a lot in is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and 3. I mean, I can be Ash. I can get the shotgun in Doom. I can either play it while I'm in an open world running around looting stuff, or I could play small little capture the flag matches. Like, really, Call of Duty, you get a lot of value out of that. And I guess if it wasn't for the little things they added into the game to make it a little different, it would be hard for me to recommend or have it in my top 5. And then another one would be the Sniper Elite 5 DLC. The DLC was awesome. New open maps to explore, to figure out different ways to beat it. A lot of the fun I had this year was, I guess, DLC. And then another one that's not talked about a lot is the Kirby's Return to Dreamland. And it's sort of a remaster, but they also added a whole new single-player campaign. I say single-player because I think it can be multiplayer. But it's with that other side character. So it's like it's not even a Kirby game. It's like it has completely different mechanics. And it was fun to play something like that. A high-quality Nintendo side-scrolling platformer that's not Mario or Kirby or Yoshi. It was its own thing, and they did an excellent job with it. And actually, something else I could do, I guess we're getting to the end here, is, what do I do? Oh, yeah, I turn off, okay. So I think this is supposed to look at all the games I played this year, perhaps? Oh, yeah, the Starship Troopers Extermination. That's still in early access enough where I don't think I would call that out. I don't know. I would say in general, it's weird. Even though we got the Mario and the Zelda, I don't think this was like some amazing year in gaming. I don't think so. And, people might not agree with that, but I feel like it had a lot to do with, again, COVID. Because the games that did come out were just these big releases that probably had delays anyway. And yeah, some of them did for sure. Yeah, we know, for a fact, a lot of these had delays. Yeah, and it's just like, it's just like if Taylor Swift won the Grammy or whatever they call it, or, it's the top single. Like, yeah, I don't know. And that's the thing. The Game Awards, I stay for the reveals, but I don't take seriously the awards or anything. I think it's more of, when they I don't know. It's like a big advertisement, I guess. So that's that. Anyway. How long have I been streaming? 34. Okay, I think that's about right. Slower week. Not too much going on. That's about it. Thanks, everyone that watched or listened to this episode of the BlueGamer Bluecast. I plan to still stream next week on Black Friday, just because this takes me 30 minutes to do, so I do it real quick. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and feel free to post what games you're playing this weekend in the comments. I'm always curious what people are playing, and we'll talk later.